What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Titans Time Podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Staggs. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Tyler Staggs. Training camp started yesterday, and so that's something exciting. We don't have to sit here and come up with all kinds of different stuff to talk about. Really just picking for whatever we can find just to make some type of content. But before we get into the show, Tyler, go ahead and plug the merch once again for another week.
I mean, we're not just going to do this, this week and then be done with it. No, guys, y'all need to go check out the merch. I got one of the new shirts right here. So, I mean, I can honestly speak on it. It's just as soft as like we were talking about last week. I love it. I love the new shirt. Your feeling of it right now. What's your thoughts?
I mean, it's like a cloud.
And the logo looks good on it. Guys, if you want to check out our merch,
it's like a baby's bottom right here next to me.
We have several different items.
That was...
Yeah, you started making it a little bit weird.
Well, you know how... Isn't that like a saying, soft as
yes.
it? Okay.
It is.
So I was just trying to speak to how soft the shirt is. Sorry.
But if you want to go check out the shirts, possibly get them, hats, shorts, backpack, several other items, and we'll have more coming soon. Go to titanstimepodcast.com/collections. It'll take you right to all of our products. You'll be able to check them out, and that'll be popping up on the screen for you if you're watching on YouTube, so that you can make sure you go find it. And it'll also be linked down below in the description.
You can carry your Titans Time shirt and shorts in your Titans Time backpack while wearing your Titans Time hat, and then the whatever else is on there. I can't exactly remember everything.
We got phone cases on there, which, honest review, guys, I also got the shorts, and I'll be sure to let you know, because the men's shorts, we get the athletic shorts, and the pockets. My wife actually made a comment about this. We actually get to see what women go through a little bit, because either their shorts don't have pockets, or if they do, they're not that deep. These pockets are not that deep. If you have a newer iPhone, it's not going to fit in them well.
It's not going to fit in the pocket.
These shorts, they're good if you want to, if you're going to be playing like basketball, not have your phone in your pocket. If you're working out, setting your phone down to the side, they're really comfy.
Steer clear of anything that involves having an object in your pocket.
But again, they are really comfy. That's the only drawback I could find to them.
All right, so other than the merch, make sure that you're with us on social media. The ones that we're most active on Twitter, it's Titans_time. On Facebook, Titans Time, and then also on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. Let them know, Tyler, how they can support the show.
Guys, besides going and checking out the merch, if you want to support the show, if you're listening to the audio pod, make sure whatever platform you're on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just go and click that follow or subscribe button. Leave us some reviews. Leave us a 5-star rating. We really appreciate it. For all of y'all watching on YouTube right now, just scroll down on your phone or on your desktop a little bit. If you see a red button that says subscribe,
you're not being very inclusive of anyone that might have a tablet or any other type of device.
Well, any device that you're on. If you're watching us on YouTube,
canceled.
Scroll down. If that subscribe button is red, just hit it. Turn it gray. You'll see the little bell out to the side. Click that so you never miss when we upload a video. Leave us some likes on the video. Share the video, and go down and leave us some comments. We really appreciate it, and guys, we need more interaction. Come on, training camp is here. Let us know who you think the standouts are so far, what your thoughts are, if you think maybe our defensive backs are in trouble, which kind of foreshadowing a little bit, but not really. But hey, yeah, just let us know.
All right, so speaking of, training camp is underway, and basically, a lot of the stuff that you just, named off and mentioned, we're going to talk about. Basically, just to get right into it, what has stood out to you more than anything so far throughout training camp, these first 2 days?
A.J. Brown is our number one receiver.
Okay.
For sure. Does
that happen to have anything to do with the felonies committed by Julio Jones?
No.
Just kidding.
What that has to deal with is some of the knocks that people have had on A.J. Brown when he come into the league, everything else, is his route running could, use some work. It's not like he runs the crispest routes, anything like that. But if you
Crispiest.
But if you watch the videos that have been released on his route running in training camp so far,
much improved.
Oh, it looks amazing. And iron sharpens iron, luckily. And our defensive backs are going to be ready for this year. Just kind of swinging away from AJ for a minute. But our defensive backs have to go against Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. So they're going to get a very tough test in training camp practice. We've kind of mentioned this before. But A.J. Brown is just cooking like everybody. Jackrabbit Jenkins, that's how he's actually listed on the Titans roster, is Jackrabbit. So got to make sure we get that right. But he cooked him on some routes. On a fade route, had an amazing one-hand catch. Then got him on a slant, caught it, even threw in the little finger roll. And then today, going right back at guys and just destroying them. I don't know what else to say for him.
I'm pretty sure that there's only been a handful of times. I know Janoris Jenkins got the better of him on one route, but I mean, in proportion to how many routes they're running and how many times they're going against these guys, I mean,
right.
He's winning. And, I would say 8 to 9 times out of 10.
He's winning these in one-on-one. They're doing their one-on-one drill. So yes, the corner,
which is a hard drill for a defensive back.
It really is, and I was gonna give them, throw that out there, that is a hard drill for defensive backs. But I mean, this is your chance to prove, other things. Like, okay, I don't have any help. Let me lock you down if I can, or do my best to keep you from catching the ball. And it's something that's really good to help, I feel like, make your defensive backs better, because they know, okay, I don't have that help that I can rely on. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that defensive backs that can excel at that drill are definitely guys that you can feel comfortable putting out there and leaving them on an island with a receiver.
Just to throw this out there, which I know he went against, not our top guys. He went against like Cam Batson, I think Racy McMath, and I can't remember the third one. But Breon Borders had
I was going to mention, yeah.
He had 3 straight pass breakups. Do you have the other guy that he went up against anywhere?
No, I don't think so.
But anyway, so a drill where it's more set for the receiver to more than likely win. Breon Borders with 3 straight pass breakups, and then we didn't get to see video of like the 7-on-7s, everything like that. But apparently yesterday, Amani Hooker picked off Ryan Tannehill down in the red zone, and from what I was hearing about it, it would have been one of those where it could have possibly been a pick 6, because he drove on the ball, caught it in stride, and could have been gone, unless Tannehill does one thing he's pretty good at, and that's chase it down. So he had that. Then
that DK Metcalf.
Right. Then Breon Borders yesterday had an interception in 7-on-7 where Deshaun Kaiser went to try and throw the ball away across his body. From what I'm hearing, this should not have been a pass that he tried to throw, even to throw it away. And apparently Breon Borders made a hell of a play to get the interception on that.
So let's talk about the backup quarterback battle that's going on there. Because Deshaun Kaiser, to me, was the favorite coming in my opinion, to be the number 2 guy. as these first 2 days, which has only been 2 days, so there's not a whole lot to say there. But as these first 2 days have played out, there's been a couple of occurrences where he's made bad decisions like that. And then, I mean, other than that, I still don't know that he's just necessarily been that impressive, even when he's not making those mistakes. But Logan Woodside has had some things that, you could be impressed about. He has been throwing some touchdown passes. I think he threw one to McMath. I think he might end up, now this is just an early prediction, but I believe he might end up edging out Kaiser there for that backup quarterback position.
He very well could. Like you said, it's the second day of camp, though, and Vrabel even said in his interview today that Kaiser and Woodside were going to, they were kind of going to be flip-flopping.
Yeah, they're going to battle for that number 2 spot.
Sometimes, one of them would be with the second team more than the third team, and then the next day it would be right the opposite, where the other guy is with the second team more than he is the third team. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that battle. You could make the argument that there are still some other quarterbacks out there that I know you're not big on.
I'm over it.
But you could make that argument there's still some other quarterbacks out there that could be a better option for a backup quarterback. But we've mentioned Racey McMath a couple times, and his touchdown catch yesterday in the one-on-one drill, he went up, got the ball, used his size to his advantage to get better position. Obviously, a lot of people on Titans Twitter joking around about this because everyone was saying what's going to be the first thing that everyone overreacts about with training camp. And after he made that catch, people, we have 3 number 1 receivers on this team and everything like that. So, but it was a great catch. He made a great play on the ball, and depending on how many receivers the Titans decide to keep on the roster, he could be battling.
He's a guy
for one of those spots
who is going to be on the bubble, I think. Not going to say that he's got a for sure spot on the roster, because that's not the case for any of those guys down towards the bottom right now. But he's going to be one of those that I think is definitely going to be competitive for it. I mean, he's got the size, like you said, and he's obviously showing that he can use that to his advantage. One guy that I have not, and I don't know, I might just be missing something here. He might not be participating. I haven't seen his name. The Fitzpatrick rookie receiver.
Des Fitzpatrick? Yes, he has been competing. He actually had.
I haven't seen anything about him.
He ran a good route today. I can't remember who it was against, but you could hear the coaches in the background definitely getting on to this defensive back, telling him, hey, told you, nothing underneath, nothing under. And, Des come up, broke out towards the pylon. It looked to me like a good route. Obviously, you get a more experienced corner in there. He probably plays it better, but he's been doing well, too.
Well, that's definitely, something to be optimistic about, because that's a guy that I felt like they might have, reached a little bit for. So for him to come in and have a strong performance in camp, in my opinion, is going to be huge. Really not for anything other than just to make myself feel better about them using the pick on him.
But and Josh Reynolds.
Oh, yeah. We've been knowing this.
Right.
Josh Reynolds is going to be the best number 3 receiver in the NFL. And I don't feel like that is a reach. I don't feel like there's anyone that's going to even come close to his numbers as a number 3.
Don't feel like it's biased any at all sense?
No, absolutely not. I'm the guy that's not biased.
There's times.
And
there's
when
times.
And about what?
There's times. There's times.
You know that it is the, for anyone watching on the camera, you know that it's the left side of the table. You know that it's the left side of the table that the bias is always coming from. And that's you. That's your side, in case you didn't know. In case you were having a hard time.
I will say that I've been trying to get better about not being as biased and stepping back, looking at things. I think that Josh Reynolds is going to be really good.
Best in the league.
No.
We have 3 number 1 receivers. Julio, AJ, and Josh Reynolds.
So another guy, Elijah Molden. Today, some of his
cut
reps,
off his own mother from his phone. He said, "Mama, I don't got time for this. I'm balling with the big boys now in Nashville. You can't be calling my phone all the time. You're cut off."
Told her that she's limited to, I think it's like 2 nights a week that she can FaceTime him.
That's hilarious.
Because he said, he loves his mama, but said she can call him, and next thing he knows, it's a 2-hour conversation. So, I can understand. He's got to stay focused. And Roger Saffold actually talked about the rookies in an interview, talking about how, I guess, impressed he is with them, because he said that these guys come in focused. They're not afraid to ask questions to get better. Apparently, they're keeping the fridge stocked up for all the veteran players. You don't see them just wanting to sit around, talk about going and grabbing a snack here, this or that, or going and grabbing a drink. He said, no, they're out here working. They're doing what they can. They want to help make this team better and get better themselves. And going back to Elijah Molden, today we were talking about the one-on-one drills, not favoring the defensive backs. And again, can't think of who he was going up against, but the defense he had on one guy in this one-on-one drill, oh man, he had him locked up. Met him, like line of scrimmage, jammed him up, kept jamming him up, messed up his break, tried to undercut the route, ball ended up being incomplete. So, he was putting in the work, and the coaches were letting him know, hey, that's what we like to see.
Keeping guys locked up there, even in the one-on-one, especially coming in as a rookie, that's impressive.
And again, it wasn't against anyone like AJ or Julio, anyone like that. But still,
because he's going to get crushed if he goes one-on-one against either one of those guys.
To be able to do
especially
that,
Josh Reynolds, the number 1 receiver on the team.
To be able to do that is, it impresses coaches.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I want to bring up is that I want to say it was before training camp started that Vrabel threw these guys out there, but he threw out 4 guys as off-season award winners. I'm assuming he does this every year because he did it last year. But I want to say it was only 3 people last year, though. Anyways, so Anthony Ferkser, Westbrook Akeem, Laurel Murchison, which is pretty interesting to see on there. And then my absolute favorite on the whole entire list, even though Anthony Ferkser is definitely my guy with the tight ends. He's
your guy. Y'all talk often.
Yeah.
How come you never got him on the show then?
He's one of my favorites on the offensive side of the ball, besides Josh Reynolds. Tier Tart. And he was especially going into detail and saying some nice things about Tier Tart. Okay, so it was a post-practice press conference.
It was yesterday.
I was wrong on that. But anyways,
I was just Tart, let you have
I believe was one of the guys that he was mentioning that came and approached him about either him or some other, I think it was him and some other coaches, about like an off-season plan and all kinds of other stuff. So he's definitely putting in the work. And, he's a guy last year that I thought made some really great plays, even as an undrafted free agent.
Right, and like you said, Vrabel talked about him a lot, and he did come to Vrabel and I think some other coaches because they talked about where he came from. It wasn't like some of these other guys coming out of bigger schools or better programs that kind of have some of this knowledge. So he come to them because he wants to improve, wants to get better, wants to be where he can help the team. I think he even talked about how he, talked to Daquan Jones a lot and wanting to improve and get better because really that's going to be the role that he feels is Daquan Jones is no longer there. So we need, that bigger guy. to step in and be like the nose tackle. So, and Vrabel did praise all of these guys, talking about the work that they have put in this offseason, how much they're there, wanting to get better, just driving to get better. And, I mean, you love to see it. And he even, one of the guys that he mentioned before training camp really kicked off with everyone being there was Christian Fulton. And he's talked about how, I believe he's come in, a little bit bigger, muscle-wise. He's gotten stronger. And, it's good to see him back healthy. Now, Fulton was also one of the guys that was one of the defensive backs that was getting cooked in the one-on-one. I mean, I'm pretty sure Josh Reynolds made him
like I said, though,
look very
Josh
silly.
Reynolds, honestly, one of the best in the league at what he does. So you can't really put a whole lot of blame on Christian Fulton there for that, because although on the depth chart Josh Reynolds is a number 3 wide receiver, really you can't look at him that way, because
now
seriously, I'm joking a little bit when I say these things, but Josh Reynolds is going to shock a lot of people this year.
I believe so too. And I do want to say this, not to take anything away from any of these receivers that we've been talking about, like guys that are outside of the top 3. Don't want to take anything away from them, because they are doing what they can to make this team and are going to be willing to, whether it's playing special teams mainly or being a guy that just comes in every so often. We've seen some things before. Corey Davis in camp a couple years ago, they talked about him going up above everyone else in the end zone, grabbing a touchdown catch, but then get to the season and it's like, the hell, this ain't the same guy y'all were talking about in training camp.
I remember the guys on the midday 180, I want to say. I vividly remember the conversation after training camp that day, whenever they talked about that exact play and how Corey Davis in the end zone with several defensive backs around him, Marcus Mariota, funny to say that name, but Marcus Mariota throws the ball. It
was a high pass.
A high pass. I mean, and the way that they explained it, extremely high pass. Like one of those that you let your guard down. Like, oh, okay, that one's going over
just trying to throw it out the back.
That one's going over the goalpost. And then there's an arm that just like magically, like some music starts playing and lights shine down on the field. An arm reaches up out of, just like literally straight. Yeah, a sea of defenders reaches up, grabs the ball and brings it down, and it's Corey Davis.
Right. And again, I'm not wanting to take anything away from these guys, but I do want to say, don't get expectations too high to the fact to where we overhype these guys.
There's one guy that I'm going to overhype, and that's Josh Reynolds, just because I want to.
But I do like the talent that a lot of these guys towards the bottom of that receiver room are bringing in. Even, Mason Kinsey, he's a guy that his speed, I think, is sometimes overlooked. But he had some routes today where he looked really good in that one-on-one. And I obviously wish that the training camp was open to where us as fans could go watch and see this stuff and actually see more of like the 7-on-7 drills, just so we could get a better feel for what's going on. And, it really hurts seeing all these other teams running their training camps and you see the fans there, cheering these players on, yelling, interacting with them, and it's like, man, we can't do that.
So, anyways, also with the off-season award winners, I just wanted to also mention Anthony Ferguson, because I think that this upcoming season, he is going to have, his numbers might not be anything crazy, but I think he's going to have some extremely important plays there at tight end. And, I'm just excited. Mainly out of the 4 that Vrabel mentioned, I'm excited most about Ferguson and Tart. Tart is a guy that really gets me excited on the defensive side just because I really liked him last season, just the things that he was able to come in and do. I mean, it was just like some of the plays that he made, you're like, man, like he's doing that as an undrafted free agent.
Right.
If he gets another off season, which it seems like he's on the right track so far, if he gets an off season under his belt of some really good work and he goes through, you know, some good plans from the coaches like he's come to him and asked for, he could really be that guy that you end up looking back on and saying they absolutely made an amazing pickup there.
Right, I agree. And you mentioned Ferkser, even though we just kind of mentioned something a few minutes ago about Corey Davis skying up and getting one. I seen something where I believe it was today in the 7-on-7 drill. Apparently he skied up and caught a pass in the end zone for a touchdown. So, something that...
Very Corey Davis-esque.
You said that, not me. Don't hold that against me. But, I thought it was funny because we kind of talk about how, he's a sure hands guy. He's going to catch the ball if you put it near him. But we don't, a knock on him is his speed. And I wouldn't really have thought about his jumping, but, I guess he skied up.
To me, training camp is like just a really great time to see what you're going to get from the depth players on the team. Obviously, the superstars, they're there and they're putting in work, especially with this team. I mean, that is one thing about the Titans that I really like. Jim White noted in his day 2 notes that Derrick Henry was out there running in the sand pit, dripping sweat today. And if you were outside today, how hot it was.
It was hot.
And I would
today.
not have wanted to be Derrick Henry in that situation.
Yeah, but they are also, I remember them talking about this in the interviews today after the practice. And, they're trying to make sure that they, don't necessarily overdo it with Henry.
They are limiting him.
He's not out there doing necessarily all the on-field drills, but getting him over there in the sand pit to run, cut in it, everything else. But even the on-field drills that he's been doing, good grief, the man is...
Yeah,
And he did also talk about, they asked him about his off-season workouts, everything else, and, he joked around with them saying that, people are always asking him for, what he does for workouts. He's, that's why I post them. That way you can see. He said, now there's some stuff that I don't post because, my trainer, he can do all these things and I see him do something, I want to try it, and I fail at it. He's like, I'm not putting that blooper on there. And they asked him if there was anything that his trainers asked him to do that he's like, no. And Henry made a comment about, yeah, he wanted me to get up on his shoulders and do a backflip, and he was like, or do a flip. And he's like, I'm not doing karate or trying to be in the next Avengers movie or anything like that.
That's funny. One thing that I was going to mention also with some of these guys that haven't necessarily gotten a chance to have NFL experience yet, and I believe that I'm right on that with both of these guys. I am actually. It's not anybody on the offense or defense, but somebody that you yesterday might have thrown, or maybe the day before, might have thrown a little bit of shade at, and I just wanted to call a little bit of attention to it. The kickers. So, everybody knows that you are I would say one of the biggest Titans fans out there. I would throw that title on you, especially when it comes to fantasy football. You will go out of your way to pick a Tennessee Titans player on your team. Doesn't matter if there's a better player on the board. You'll go out of your way to make sure it is Tennessee Titans almost all the way down, where it makes sense. Even sometimes where it does not make sense. When asked about the kickers, I believe that you proceeded to say basically along the lines of these guys are trash, and I do not want them in my lineup.
That may have been very much of a misquote there. I said that neither of these guys have ever kicked in a NFL game, like a regular season game, so I would not put my faith in them to have them on my fantasy team. And today, both of the kickers struggled a little bit. They were 60% today, both kickers, out of 5
Are
kicks.
you sure?
Yes.
McCann, it says he went 5 for 5.
No, not today. He did not.
Is that not day 2?
Today, he missed one from...
You're right. You're right.
I believe he missed one from 40 and 49.
No, wait.
Both kickers today went 60%, went 3 of 5.
I don't know. This is showing on day 1 that McCann was 5 for 5. And then this is also... Oh, wait. This is... That's... See, I had 2 day 1 tabs pulled up. That's on me.
See, I mean, come on. Get your shit together.
Listen,
here.
that's on me. I'm going to own up to that one. I just hope that we can have a season where we don't have to worry that every time the kicker has to come onto the field, something absolutely terrible is going to happen.
Again, that's why I made the point about these kickers is I would not trust them in fantasy. But, you know, that's how...
2 seasons. The past 2 seasons, every single time that they come onto the field, every time they came onto the field, it was like something, just in the back of your mind, something terrible is about to, like, this is going to change the whole game right here. Well,
if it makes you feel any better, apparently Goskowski is just down the road still, like lives just down the road.
He's just waiting to...
I mean, if they want to...
completely botch the whole first game of the season. Like, just waiting to literally turn every fan against him in such a strong, hateful way by just literally not even coming close on any of his kicks, and then slowly try to win them back over the rest of the season.
I mean, here's the kicker is one of the things that probably needs to be addressed before the season gets here.
And you don't like McCann?
Here's what I was going to say. I'm willing to sit back and actually let these guys get maybe 1 or 2 preseason games under their belt and see how they do. But if we're constantly getting 60% from them, then no, I don't want them out there.
That's great in terms of Titans history, actually, the past couple of seasons. 60%?
The past couple of seasons.
I'm taking.
The past couple of seasons. Are we really lowering our standards that much?
I'm taking
for kickers.
60%. No. Give it to me.
No, which granted today, Vrabel did say all across the board for the whole team that there were more mistakes made today. Like the practice today didn't look as good as yesterday's. You had Ryan Tannehill who had a couple of botched snaps. One of them with Ben Jones and one of them with I can't think of
the other guy.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. But you had that. There were some poorly thrown passes, and which grant there were. He said more of them were towards the front of the practice. But again, it's one of those things where, hey, if that stuff's going to happen, I would rather it happen during training camp and all of that get out of the way before the season gets here.
Right.
Work off all the rust, all that. But it seemed like it was a rougher day all around for the Titans practice. It wasn't as good as yesterday.
Which is okay.
But yeah, because yesterday, first day of training camp, I seen someone kind of make this analogy. Can't remember who it was, but they're like, it's kind of like when you go back to school. First day, you're all excited, everything's good. Then second day, it's like
you're sleeping in class.
Oh shit!
Don't want to go back. I mean, for me, that's really the main things that I wanted to get on here and talk about. I don't necessarily Julio Jones with the Waffle House cleats. I don't have
open.
Don't have anything to say about them. Just wanted to mention them. Put it out there.
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
One thing I want to touch on. So we have Bud Dupree, who is on the PUP list.
Right. Forgot about that.
He got put on that before training camp started. And then now he has also been put on the COVID reserve list. Apparently there's a couple of guys on there. I think, if I remember seeing correctly, that maybe 1 or 2 guys actually have it. The others are just close contact. Don't know which one he might be. I'm going to guess he's probably just close contact. But he is starting training camp on the PUP list, so physically unable to perform because of his knee. Caleb Farley is on the non-football injury list, along with, I'm blanking because this was a couple days ago that I seen this, but there was, I think it may have been Ty Sambrilo, possibly. Could be wrong on that. In the comments, let me know if I was wrong about that and who it was. But, we have these guys that haven't made it back from like their injury yet, or they may be getting closer to be getting out there on the field. But you have Taylor Lewan back to practice, not wearing a knee brace, no bands, anything like that.
Just absolutely, just in very Taylor Lewan fashion, just absolutely raw dogging it with the knee out there on the field.
But apparently he's been looking good. He's, coming out of he's in his stance good. He's making some cuts for like blocking everything. Yeah, he's looking good out there. Yesterday, A.J. Brown didn't have any braces or bands on his knees, where he had off-season surgery to repair a couple things. But today he did have a band on one of them. Again, don't think it's anything to worry about. Early in training camp, these guys, if they weren't, fully healthy and cleared, they would not be out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think even with the guys on the injury lists, PUP lists, whatever, I don't necessarily think that there's anything to worry about there with any of those. To me, anyways. I'm not necessarily worried about any of it yet.
Not yet. If it starts getting closer to season and we see these guys still on there.
Basically, just Bud Dupree and Caleb Farley.
Bud Dupree, if he's still on the PUP list, I'm trying to remember, there's a certain point where if he's not cleared by, then he has to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. So, obviously, we hope to see him out there a lot sooner than that. But, maybe it's just a thing where he's not completely cleared yet, but in the next week or two he will be.
Well, all right. Is there anything else that you've got to mention?
I don't think so. Just excited that camp's back and we're finally getting to see some footage of the players back out on the field, see some interviews with them, and just we're one step closer to football being completely back. And I'm excited for it.
Next week for the podcast, we'll have a whole week of training camp to look back on. So make sure that you're with us next Friday as well, because I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about and to cover. But that's been it. I don't think there's anything else. Thanks for listening. This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.